Part 30. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 291. Fu Nanli did not give up, but said, "Fly with me in 2 days. Then I'll take a leave of absence." "Well, take 2 days off." This time, when I went to Helsinki, Fu Nanli received an award from an international aviation association. In the banquet hall, which can accommodate more than 100 people, there is a dark red carpet. He wears a formal suit and a tie. When he comes to the stage to accept the award, so handsome that those Nordic people can't help but stare at him the whole time. His handsomeness knows no borders. He came to the stage to give a speech, speaking in English with a very pronounced pronunciation. Wen Qiao heard whispering behind her, and when she looked back, she saw 2 middle-aged female officials who originally seemed to be unsmiling, with a familiar light in their eyes. Nympho light. Fu Nanli's personality is so powerful. He was a low-key person, and he only said a few words when receiving the award, mentioned Dong Chuan and thanked some aviation authorities for their love. After the award was over, Fu Nanli gave the trophy to Wen Qiao, "Take it and play." It was a crystal cup, beautiful and clear, with a sense of design. Wen Qiao took the trophy. "I'm not a child. Still love his trophy." On the way back, he kept holding on to the trophy. He handed his glory to her. He said that he was not a child, but he was very happy in his heart. 10 hours later, the plane was about to land at Haikan Dongpu Airport. Fu Nanli, D1005 applies for landing, please answer from the tower. Tower, D1005 is allowed to land, runway 03 right, ground wind 030 km. At 9 o'clock in the evening, one of the control staff took a leave of absence, and the other's workload increased, which caused, he didn't notice that there was a plane at the right end of runway 03 that was about to take off. Full passenger plane. The plane landed slowly, and Fu Nanli said in a deep voice, "Put down the landing gear." "Su Shen, the landing gear is down." At a glance, he saw the passenger plane at the end of the runway. It was a passenger plane with a passenger capacity of at least 300 people. Naturally, Fu Nanli also saw that with the current speed of the plane, the passenger plane was obviously in the way. He calmly asked the tower, "Are you sure it's the right of runway 03? "Sure." Fu Nanli held the manual lever in his hand and asked again, "Please confirm again." Only then did the tower staff realize that 2 passenger planes had hit the runway. He panicked, and a cold sweat broke out on his forehead instantly. D1005, a plane about to take off for London parked on the right of runway 03, Where is it still in time? Fu Nanli knew that he could no longer listen to the control tower. There was a passenger plane full of 300 people in front of him, a warehouse on the left, and a ferry on the right. No time to wait, no time to hesitate. Tower, let the driver in the shuttle get off immediately, immediately. Received. The staff at the control tower desperately used the walkie-talkie to call the only driver in the shuttle bus, "Please get off, the driver of shuttle bus D1005, get off immediately, and stay away from plane D1005, the situation is urgent." The driver in the shuttle bus heard the dispatch, got off the bus immediately, and ran away. In the cockpit, Fu Nanli turned on the radio and said solemnly, "The plane is about to land, please prepare for collision avoidance." Everyone in the cabin was dumbfounded when they heard the captain's words. Zhao Yuan immediately asked the flight attendant to check whether all passengers were wearing seat belts. The atmosphere in the cabin froze for a while. Wen Qiao was restless. Usually, planes are most prone to accidents during takeoff and landing, and once they happen, it is a major event. She didn't know what happened to Fu Nanli in the cockpit, and let him make a decision to avoid collisions for all passengers. Chapter 50. All finished. Ask for a monthly pass. Some activities such as new books are put on the shelves, and the comment area will be pinned to the top. Thanks for your support. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 292. It's sunny today, not rainy or snowy, so what happened? She had no choice but to rush into the cockpit to share life and death with him. She could only sit in the seat that belonged to her. Like all the other passengers, she bowed her body and hugged her head. A young mother came out of the bathroom with a 3 or 4-year-old girl. The faces of the two were pale, and the plane was already slowing down too much. It was not a soft landing. The heavy friction sound was particularly harsh, and the plane was violently turbulent. When Xiao saw that the young mother failed to catch the little girl was about to fly away, and she was right beside her. When Xiao didn't care about anything else, she undid her seat belt, rushed over and caught the little girl. The plane turned sharply, and only heard a bang, as if it had hit something. And when Xiao slammed into the dining car with the violent bumps, she ignored the severe pain in her head and hugged the little girl in her arms tightly. Everyone on the plane was screaming in horror, as if waiting for the end to come. Wen Xiao had a belief in his heart. Fu Nanli can definitely lead everyone out of difficulties and dangers, and they can definitely turn bad luck into good fortune. In the cockpit, Su Shen's heart was in his throat. It was because the captain was calm in the face of danger and decided to hit the shuttle bus, which prevented an air disaster from happening. If it goes straight, it is bound to hit the passenger plane bound for London, and the lives of the people on both planes are in danger. If you turn left, you may hit the warehouse. The probability of the plane exploding is 60%. The captain finally chose to hit the shuttle bus, and even calmly let the tower move away. The only one who may be killed in this air crash staff. One wrong step can cost hundreds of lives. When ordinary people encounter such a dangerous moment, they have long been in chaos. Strong psychological quality is also an essential element to become an excellent captain. Although the captain was younger than him, he was truly the person he admired the most. A violent sound roared in their ears, and there was even a flash of fire in front of their eyes. Fu Nanli's hand was firmly on the joystick, and the harsh sound of tires rubbing against the ground could not be stopped. Concentration, professionalism, extraordinary psychological quality, and firm determination are all indispensable, and Fu Nanli successfully avoided a disaster. The plane finally stopped, and the nose of the plane was seriously damaged, but neither Fu Nanli nor Su Shen was injured. Although Fu Nanli was in a hurry, he patiently checked the control panel, checked all the instruments, and then hurried out of the cockpit. As soon as I got out of the cockpit, I saw everyone surrounded by one place, and I thought, was anyone injured? Xiao Wen, how are you? At that moment, Fu Nanli was flustered, walked over quickly, pushed aside the crowd, and saw that Wen Xiao had bright red blood on his forehead, and his eyes were a little distracted. His heart twitched, and he half kneeled beside her. Where's the medical staff? Zhao Yuan said quickly, I'll be up soon. How could this be? Wasn't it broadcast to prepare everyone for collisions? Why is she in the aisle? Paramedics came with stretchers. Fu Nanli restrained her panic, stopped her bleeding first. In the chaos, the young mother led the little girl to follow Wen Xiao and said gratefully, Thank you very much, thank you. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 293. Fu Nanli kept holding Wen Xiao's hand and ran out, followed by Zhao Yuan, explaining, the passenger took her daughter to the bathroom, and when she was about to hit her, she was about to return to her seat, and Xiao Wen rushed out to save the little girl, hit the dining car. Fu Nanli was so distressed that he could no longer breathe. He asked her to follow her to the Guild Awards ceremony. If she didn't follow him, how could there be such an innocent disaster? Wen Qiao just felt a headache, and she was so dead that she just hit the sharp foot of the dining car. The top of her head must have been broken, and some blood was flowing out, and her breathing was painful. The collision place was not very good, she was a little dazed, and there were double images when she saw things. I vaguely saw Fu Nanli's face, and in a trance, I heard his urgent voice. I've never seen him so anxious before, in a mess. Fu Nanli got into the ambulance with Wen Qiao. The mother and daughter stood outside the car and bowed to her. If it wasn't for this girl, her daughter was still so young, it was possible that she would die if she bumped into it. It was this girl who saved her daughter. The car door was closed, and the nurse was helping Wen Qiao stop the bleeding. Fu Nanli saw a pile of blood-stained cotton balls in the tray instantly. Is she seriously injured? There is a hole on the top of the head, it is not deep, it should not need stitches. Wen Qiao only regained her senses now, seeing Fu Nanli in uniform and her hat before she could take off her hat, her eyes were full of worry. Wen Qiao raised his hand, I'm fine. Fu Nanli gritted his teeth, Wen Qiao, you don't want to die, right? Wen Qiao hissed softly, and he softened his tone again, does it hurt? Wen Qiao closed her eyes, it's okay. She always pretended to be strong like this, but it made him feel more distressed, you don't have to endure the pain. Wen Qiao smiled and couldn't hold back, it hurts a little bit, it seems like there's a lot of blood left. Fu Nanli clenched her hand, so distressed that she couldn't breathe. When he arrived at the special hospital set up by the Aviation Administration, Wen Qiao was sent to the operating room and underwent an examination. The hit was not serious, but it was a trauma. He recovered and stopped the bleeding. He came out of the operating room with gauze on his head. Fu Nanli hurried forward and hugged her. The doctor said it's fine, the wound is not deep, and it's not too long, so I don't need stitches, just go to the hospital every day to change the dressing. Fu Nanli looked down at the top of her head, a little blood dripped from the center of the gauze, which shocked him. Don't take risks like this in the future. Wen Qiao looked up at him, it's just instinct, I don't think so much. Fu Nanli's Adam's apple rolled, touched her face, and said solemnly, people can be selfish, don't be so full of justice, this society is not very good to you. Wen Qiao smiled, okay, I remember it all. At the end of the corridor, Ji Xianzheng came hurriedly, walked to Fu Nanli, grabbed his arm, and checked up and down, are you not injured? Hearing the news of the plane crash, he was stunned. The probability of such a situation was extremely small, not to mention Nanli's cautious personality. Fu Nanli embraced Wen Qiao, I'm not injured, Qiao has some injuries. Only then did Ji Xianzheng see the gauze on Wen Qiao's head, how could you be injured? Save the kid who came out of the bathroom and hit it? Ji Xianzheng exhaled, are you all right? Wen Qiao said quickly, it's just a minor injury, don't worry. Ji Xianzheng said, Nanli, you have to go back to the company. There are many things to deal with. This time you have made a contribution. It was because of your decisiveness that a major accident was avoided. Many media want to interview you. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 294. Push it, I'm not going to be interviewed. Have the PR department to deal with the media for you. Fu Nanli took Wen Qiao to the elevator, so what happened to the tower? Why did it issue such a serious wrong order? Ji Xianzheng rubbed his brows, one of the ground staff of the Aviation Administration has asked for leave, and the other has to take care of the two machines, for a while. Fu Nanli's face was ashen, how do their leaders do things? Are such personnel arrangements reasonable? People from the Aviation Administration have already dealt with it. The two staff members involved will be severely criticized, and the second is, they may be involved in a criminal case, and they will probably be imprisoned. Fu Nanli said with a gloomy face, "Is there any conspiracy?" Ji Xianzheng, the entire Air Traffic Management Bureau has been specially screened, and the family situation has also been investigated. It is as strict as the army. It should be purely an accident. It is unbelievable that such a major aviation accident is only because of small negligence. The media outside has turned upside down, and some leaders of the Aviation Administration are about to step down this time. After getting out of the elevator, Fu Nanli helped Wen Qiao into the car. "I have to go to the company for a meeting. I will take you back first, et." Wen Qiao nodded. "Send me to school, lest my mother worry about my injury." At the back door of Yanjian, the night was kind, and in the car, Fu Nanli clasped Wen Qiao's hand and said solemnly, "I won't do this kind of thing again, you know." Wen Qiao smiled. "Okay, I see." When Fu Nanli returned to Dongchuan, he happened to meet Wu Junyuan, the young master of China's Southern Airlines, at the door. The report on Dongchuan's accident on the internet was not comprehensive. Wu Junyuan only published about 2 news stories, so he couldn't wait to come to gloat. This time, the plane crash happened in Dongchuan, and he must have been in a state of collapse from now on, so his Nanyuan will be firmly in the top spot. A lot of media gathered at the gate of Dongchuan. Fu Nanli sat in the car and watched the reporters who were rushing to surround the car. A loud noise came into the car. "Excuse me, is Captain Fu sitting in the car? May I ask Captain Fu to get off the bus and say a few words? We want to know what happened. I heard that the tower staff was negligent. It was Captain Fu who turned the tide and saved the people on the 2 planes, is that so?" It took Lao Hu's efforts to drive the car into the compound. After Fu Nanli got out of the car, Wu Junyuan leaned on him and licked his face. "Oh, Master Fu, I heard that you were driving the plane and hit it, right? You tell me, you don't inherit a good family property, you have to run away. Come and join in the fun in our aviation industry. It's okay, I'm afraid I will be punished." Fu Nanli glanced at him with a cold and indifferent expression. Su Shen hurried over and stopped the second-skinned young director of the Wu family. "Our captain has a meeting, Mr. Wu, please stay behind." Fu Nanli had hurried into the corridor, and several bodyguards at the door stopped Wu Junyuan. Wu Junyuan couldn't help but be proud. Seeing Captain Fu's face so ugly, he knew that he was going to be unlucky. "When I walked to the gate, I heard that the group of reporters were still talking. This time Dongchuan is going to be in the limelight. Captain Fu has become a heroic captain, and Dongchuan immediately returned to the top spot." Wu Junyuan's face suddenly sank, and he called a reporter to a secluded place. "What were you talking about just now? Didn't Dongchuan hit the plane? What heroic captain? Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me." Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 295. "You are Mr. Wu of Nanyuan, right?" "Yes, tell me quickly, what's the situation?" "Mr. Wu, haven't you read the news on the internet? It's because of the negligence of the ground staff of the tower's Air Traffic Control Bureau, who gave the wrong order and stopped a plane when they got there, but let Captain Fu's plane land on the same runway. Afterwards, it was Captain Fu who acted accordingly and calmly resolved a more serious disaster. He adjusted the nose of the plane at the fastest speed and hit the shuttle bus on the right, otherwise both planes would be destroyed. People died." Wu Junyuan's palms went cold. How the hell did an accident create a heroic captain? Anyway, isn't Dongchuan causing psychological panic to people? No, everyone knows that Captain Fu led them out of danger, and they all want to thank him. The passengers of that plane are still stranded at the airport and want to see Captain Fu. Unfortunately, a passenger on the plane seems to be injured. The captain took the passenger to the hospital. Woo Junyuan's palm has been cold to the heart. His top seat isn't hot yet, so don't move the nest again. Fu Nanli's meeting was held from 10 o'clock in the evening to 12 o'clock in the evening. He lost his temper. Although he didn't say anything serious, all the senior staff of the aviation administration looked at the young master carefully. Captain Fu, I'm really sorry, it's our personnel management that has made omissions. Director Zhang Biadong of the aviation administration really felt that an old face was lost by the people underneath. Fu Nanli's face was gloomy. Director Zhang, please rectify the people under him. Zhang Biadong, it will definitely be. In addition, there will be a press conference to apologize to the public tomorrow. All of our senior management will attend. Can Captain Fu attend to answer some questions from reporters? Su Shen will attend the press conference. Zhang Biadong nodded, okay. Ji Xianzhang said, I will let the head of the public relations department follow up on the follow-up matters. I will stop here today. The official Weibo of the aviation administration will first issue a statement to clarify the ins and outs of the matter. Rest, he should be tired. A group of senior officials of the aviation administration sent Fu Nanli downstairs, escorted him into the car, and watched him leave. Even if this young master failed to turn the tide and save the reputation of the entire aviation authority, his group of high-level executives would be very polite when they met him, not to mention that they are now the uncle. Lao Hu looked at the person in the rear-view mirror, and his eyes were exhausted. After all, he had experienced such a thrilling moment, and he saw Xiao Wen's blood flow continuously. The young master was also a mortal, so he would naturally be tired. Have you gone back? Old Hu asked. Fu Nanli pinched his brows and said, go to Yanjian. This late. Take another look at her. He was worried, and he didn't know if the wound on her head still hurt. He was always worried when he wasn't by his side. Lao Hu knew the temper of his young master, so the car veered in a direction and drove towards Yanjian. Wen Qiao had a terrible headache. After all, she pulled out a hole, and she would always touch the wound unconsciously when she was sleeping. She tossed and turned and couldn't sleep. Lu Yuya pawed beside her bed. Qiao, does it hurt so bad? Wen Qiao forced a smile, it's okay. Chun Xiao and Lin Xiang also leaned out, take some painkillers. Wen Qiao waved his hand, no need, I'll get used to it when it hurts. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 296. The doctor said that the pain won't be that much tomorrow, and she can still bear the pain. The phone vibrated, and Fu Nanli sent a message, put on your clothes and come out. Sleep with me tonight. I'll let Li Fang go over and show you the wound. Wen Qiao couldn't sleep anyway, so he put on his clothes and hurried to the back door. After getting into his car, Fu Nanli stared at the gauze above her head. Does the wound still hurt? Wen Qiao shrugged needlessly. Fortunately, it's a skin injury, where can it hurt? Fu Nanli's face sank. Don't be rude. Wen Qiao pursed her lips and said truthfully, it hurts a bit, but I can bear it. Fu Nanli was very distressed. Li Fang has already rushed over. The car slowly left the back door of Yanjian. Wen Qiao, there's no need for people to come over at night. He can't help me when he comes here. He just prescribes painkillers for me. I've taken one tablet before, but the doctor said I can't take it continuously. I'll be relieved to let him take a look. When Qiao came to Fu Nanli's side, the car was shaking, she was more sleepy. It was late at night, and when the car was parked downstairs in the apartment, Wen Qiao had fallen asleep leaning on Fu Nanli. Fu Nanli got out of the car, picked him up and entered the apartment. Wen Qiao half opened her eyes in a trance. "Are you there yet?" Said to come down and go. "Don't move, you go to sleep." Wen Qiao really closed his eyes and continued to sleep with peace of mind. Li Fang hurried over and glanced at her wound. "Very helpless, it's just an ordinary skin injury. Change the medicine every day. If it hurts today, take some painkillers." He is a doctor, he is not an immortal, there is no way to make her feel free from pain immediately. His young master looked at him with an unpleasant look in his eyes, as if he was saying, "What's the use of you, Li Fang? Forget it, the Fu family's salary is very high, and he is quite happy to be a personal doctor." After Li let go, Fu Nanli sat beside the bed, held her hand, and looked at her quietly. Everything from a few hours ago made him feel lingering fears until he saw her fall to the ground with blood on her forehead. He clearly realized that seeing her hurt was an unbearable pain in his life. He shouldn't have taken her there. For her, this is a disaster. Fu Nanli sighed softly, bent down, and kissed the corner of her mouth. "Sleep well." Although the accident did not cause any fatalities, the impact was significant. At the press conference the next day, Fu Nanli was sitting in the living room watching the live broadcast. Today is an apology conference from the Air Traffic Authority as it has released all the details of the accident the night before. Su Shen attended to answer reporters' questions. The first question the reporter asked was, "Will Captain Fu attend today's press conference?" Su Shen: "Sorry, Captain Fu won't be present at today's press conference. Yesterday he turned the tide and saved the lives of the passengers, but the situation was really dangerous at the time. The captain's mental state was not good enough to face the media." Fu Nanli raised her eyebrows. Her mental state was not good? It's a good excuse. He just doesn't like to answer the same boring questions in the face of those long guns and short cannons. The reporters had expressions of disappointment on their faces. They originally thought that this time they could see the true face of Mr. Fu, but those who had heard it said that he was a godlike person. It's a pity that young Master Fu didn't appear again. The reporters below looked even more serious. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 297. First, the senior officials of the Aviation Administration stood up collectively and bowed. The flashes of the reporters went up and down one after another, and they bowed for 10 seconds. First, Su Shen answered reporters' questions about the problems encountered on the front line at that time. It was followed by Zheng Piedong's personal apology and a report on the punishment of the 2 dereliction of duty staff involved and their immediate leaders. Finally, it is about the punishment of the senior leaders of the Aviation Administration. All doubts were answered in great detail. Finally, I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to Captain Fu for this flight. If it weren't for his calm response, this accident would have brought unpredictable losses. It was also at this time that Ji Xianzheng got the evidence that the internet celebrity deliberately entered Luo Hui's cockpit to take pictures, which was evidence of being instructed. Wu Junyuan is not stupid enough to directly let this matter have something to do with him. It is nothing more than that the people below suffer. But Dongchuan's public relations operations department is not dry. In the end, one was the internet celebrity, and the other was the person who directly contacted the internet celebrity, the social idler Mark. The responsibility for this remains with the captain involved. Although the two were intentional, they were only subjected to criticism and education and public crusade, and they were fine to a certain extent. It doesn't matter Mark, anyway, the blame was carried for Mr. Wu. The people under Mr. Wu were generous to him and gave him a lot of money, and Mr. Wu would definitely remember this matter. In the night show, I am idle, and I can climb up to the young master of the Wu family, why not do it? But suddenly there is a lot of rhythmic talk on the internet. It is pointed out that this matter has something to do with Mr. Wu of Nanyuan. The matter of the internet celebrity entering the cockpit has something to do with President Xiao Wu. The imagination of the netizens diverged. Was the wrong order from the tower this time also under the secret order of Mr. Wu? On the internet, the rhetoric about this matter is so fermented. Mr. Wu. My mother is more wrong than Doi in such a major matter. Am I a pig's brain? If hundreds of people really die, and Dongchuan is over, will I stay intact? Why are these netizens' brain holes so big? I just let the internet celebrity go into the cockpit and take a photo, it doesn't matter, okay. His assistant comforted him, Master, don't worry, it's all rumors, and netizens have the ability to distinguish. Seeing the intensifying comments on the internet, Wu Junyuan threw his phone in anger. They have the ability to distinguish farts, and they all ran to my Weibo to scold me. Did you see that? As soon as the assistant saw it, he scolded 200,000 comments, saying that he was a murderer, that he had lost his conscience, and that he was ignoring human life for business competition. Wu Junyuan was furious with rage. I can't wash my humming into the Yellow River. It must be Ji Xianzhen's rhythm behind his back, but he will take advantage of hot events. As a result, Dongchuan's stock price soared because a heroic captain saved hundreds of lives. As for Nanyun's involvement in the mastermind behind the scenes, the stock price plummeted. Wu Junyuan didn't really take the top spot, so he gave it to Ji Xianzheng again. Wu Junyuan had no choice but to make a solemn statement on the internet. If there is another rumor that the plane crash is related to him, he will be handed over to the law firm. Sensitive netizens sniffed out loopholes in the statement. Mr. Wu of Nanyun said that it was a plane crash, and he did not mention the issue of the internet celebrity taking pictures. Did he admit in disguise that he really ordered the internet celebrity to take pictures in the cockpit? Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 298. It is very likely that Dongchuan lost several hundred million due to this incident. The passenger flow plummeted, and Nanyun made the most profit. Obviously it was him. It was just a fluke that there was no accident. Mr. Wu, he really sacrificed his life for the sake of business competition. Boycott Nanyun. Boycott Nanyun. Ad 1. Wu Junyuan was almost dizzy. After he was busy, he finally fulfilled Dongchuan. Bei Yanlu, the wound on Wen Qiao's head has been much better after 5 days of dressing changes, so there is no need for gauze. Although it is winter, it is not enough to not wash her hair for a few days. She can only wear a peaked cap, which is relatively casual and street style. In this way, standing with Fu Nanli wearing a long iron gray coat, the age gap is very obvious. The first time Ji Xianzheng saw it, he couldn't help but say, like uncle and niece. Fu Nanli's face sank instantly. Ji Xianzheng said quickly, just kidding, take it seriously. He didn't know how nervous his cousin was about this relationship. A joke was enough to make a person who had always been calm instantly lose his senses. Fu Nanli turned to look at Wen Qiao. She was wearing an off-white short down jacket with a hooded sweater inside, black sports trousers with white vertical stripes on the side, a pair of daddy shoes on her feet, and pale pink on her head. Peaked cap. Without makeup, she looked a little milky. Like a childish high school student. Ji Xianzheng walked up to Wen Qiao and asked a few words of concern, is the wound on your head better? Wen Qiao held the back of the chair, well, it's scabbed, and there's no need to change the dressing. The doctor said that it can be soaked in water in 2 days. Well, that's good. Today's banquet is just to entertain you, and I haven't thanked you solemnly yet. Wen Qiao waved his hand, you don't need to thank me for your effort. Several people at the table were senior executives of Dongchuan Aviation Industry Corporation and Ji Xianzhen's secretary Sun Qi. They toasted Wen Qiao one by one. Of course, Wen Qiao drank juice. Only Sun Qi was indifferent, and did not please Wen Qiao like those executives. Wen Qiao noticed that the man beside him was not very interested, so he leaned over and whispered, "Have you recovered from your previous fright? Do you want to see a psychiatrist?" She knows that survivors of air crashes generally need to receive psychological counseling. What's more, Fu Nanli and the others are in the cockpit, facing risks directly. No matter how powerful people are, their psychological tolerance should be limited. Fu Nanli took her hand. "It's okay." His biggest fright moment was seeing her bleeding to the ground. The plane crash didn't leave any shadow in his heart. The past is the past. During one meal, Wen Qiao heard the airline executives compliment her. They rescued another child on the plane, and it was Mr. Fu's girlfriend. They must compliment the little girl. Wen Qiao was stunned by the praise from a group of people, and Fu Nanli tooted lightly, "Let's all eat." After dinner, a group of executives walked out with the two eldest young masters and Wen Qiao. Wu Junyuan thinks this is some kind of evil fate. The last time he met Master Ji, he was very happy. But this time, when he saw Ji Xianzheng, it was dark in front of him. In the narrow aisle, the two sides meet. Ji Xianzheng put one hand in his pocket and glanced at the person in front of him, Mr. Wu. Wu Junyuan gritted his teeth and greeted him with a smile, "Mr. Ji, long time no see. Xiao Wu always wants to see me." Wu Junyuan's smile was a little stiff. "Everyone is walking together, see you when you look up and don't look down. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 299. Secretary Sun Qi has been standing next to Ji Xianzheng, smiled and said, "It is said on the internet that the incident of internet celebrities entering the cockpit was ordered by President Xiao Wu. How do you explain it?" Ji Xianzheng raised his hand, symbolically motioning Sun Qi to shut up. "Secretary is not sensible, Mr. Wu, don't mind." Sun Qi raised her eyebrows, "I'm just conveying the meaning of netizens. If Mr. Wu doesn't clarify, it will tarnish your reputation." Ji Xianzheng held Sun Qi's wrist. "Okay, stop talking. The exit is a bit of a doting tone, where is it really harsh?" Wu Junyuan gritted his teeth. Sun Qi knew Ji Xianzheng best, knew what to say and what not to say. Obviously Ji Xianzheng instructed her to say so. Also poses. Hypocritical. But at this moment, everyone is staring at him, and he can only force a smile and say, "Netizens are joking, as an airliner, how dare I make a joke about the safety of passengers' lives?" Sun Qi smiled and looked at him. "That seems to be a misunderstanding of Mr. Wu. Mr. Wu should pay more attention to the dynamics of online speech and clarify more." Although Ji Xianzheng grabbed Sun Qi's wrist, he didn't stop her from going on, and he didn't pull her away, obviously a gesture of support. Wu Junyuan could only smile. Yes, thank you Secretary Sun for reminding me." Sun Qi said again, "Oh, yes, I heard that Xiao Wu will always be the number one in the aviation industry. I'm really sorry, but I pushed you out so quickly." Wu Junyuan was so angry that he couldn't hold the smile on his face. Ji Xianzheng then spared him. "Secretary is not very sensible and speaks openly, Xiao Wu, don't take it to heart." After speaking, he dragged Sun Qi and walked forward. Wu Junyuan smiled. Young Master Fu led his little girlfriend past, and he still had to laugh. Watching the group go downstairs, he turned cold, kicked the wall in anger, and cursed for a while before his anger subsided. In front of Bayan Building, Ji Xianzheng said to Fu Nanli, "There may be a commendation conference in the near future. If there is no media, you should watch it and attend. All members of your crew must attend." Fu Nanli frowned slightly. "Can I not go? There are officials, let's go and save face." Fu Nan bowed his head. Got it? The two got into the car, and when Xiao saw Fu Nanli still lacking in interest, "What's the matter with you?" Fu Nanli lowered his eyes, "Nothing." "Winko." Fu Nanli held her hand, "Do you think I'm much older than you?" Wen Xiao looked at him. In fact, he was 29 years old, and he was not too old, but he was very mature in temperament and conversation, giving him a very reliable sense of security. Wen Xiao shook his head, "No, I think emotional matters have nothing to do with age." Fu Nanli stared at her. She always felt that she was dressed like this, and she was suspected of abducting the little girl. She touched her face, "You don't think so?" Wen Xiao endured it, but couldn't hold back, "I also have an uncle, you know." "Uncle?" "Well, little uncle, my mother's brother, is 9 years older than me." Fu Nanli's face suddenly sank, pinching her chin, "Uncle is 9 years older than you." Wen Xiao smiled and nodded, "Well, yes." Fu Nanli pressed the suffocating fire in his chest and smiled through gritted teeth. After a few days, the weather became much warmer, and Fu Nanli went to the government banquet hall to attend the commendation ceremony. He took Wen Xiao with him. Because it was a very formal occasion, he chose a black dress for Wen Xiao with a navy blue coat over it, and his hair was meticulously tied up. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 300. When Ji Xianzheng met, the first sentence was, "How do you dress up Xiao when so mature?" Fu Nanli's mind was pierced, and his face sank. "For formal occasions, if you don't wear it like this, what do you think you should wear?" Ji Xianzheng vaguely felt that every word of his cousin smelled of gunpowder. He was angry, he was angry. Ji Xianzheng raised his eyebrows, "Okay, it's because I didn't think about it carefully, just sit down." The small banquet hall is covered with a Turkish brown-red carpet. The podium for one person on the stage is reddish-brown of the same color. It is thick and has the texture of the years. Wen Xiao and Fu Nanli are sitting on the seats, and the light reflected by the crystal chandeliers above their heads is cast on. On Fu Nanli's face, he was wearing a handmade suit. Gods! She could only think of such words. The words seemed to be tailor-made for him. He came to the stage to accept the award, which was a certificate of honor presented to him by the leaders of the city. Fu Nanli stood on the stage and delivered an acceptance speech. Wen Xiao looked at him with endless admiration. He is a hero. He saved many people. She was full of emotion, proud of him, and he was the glory that guided her to the light in her life. After Fu Nanli made some brief Mandarin speech, Ji Xianzheng let out a sigh of relief, and he said everything he asked him to say, and the leaders nodded frequently. Fu Nanli stepped down with the leader holding the red certificate of honor. At the end of the commendation meeting, Ji Xianzheng went to see the leaders, while Fu Nanli and Wen Xiao left the state banquet hall. There were a lot of eagerly looking forward reporters gathered at the door, all thinking that it would be nice to be able to block Mr. Fu a little. It's a pity that Fu Nanli got into the car as soon as he left the banquet hall. The windows of the black car were completely dark, and the camera couldn't capture the scene inside at all, so I could only shout a few words, "Mr. Captain, say a few words. People want to hear your thoughts on this incident. Netizens want to see where you are." The car was gone. Fu Nanli raised his eyebrows. He was a captain and a businessman. He was not interested in being a star and would not appear in front of the camera. Su Shen was also in the car, turned around with a smile, "Although you didn't show up, Captain, there are waves of Weibo posts about you on the internet. The top rich and handsome, the young master of the Fu family, this title alone is enough for thousands of girls to imagine. What's more, this young master is not like those playful young masters who are active in the entertainment gossip weekly. He will only ride with young models and do all kinds of crazy temptations on the edge of the law. This young master is a serious graduate of MIT, and he graduated. After that, he entered the civil aviation and flew a passenger plane, and turned the tide in an unavoidable air disaster and turned the tide. This is the perfect character that only appears in a novel. Although Fu Nanli's photos have never been circulated on the internet, it does not prevent him from having a large number of fans. Soo-yoon and Ji Min-jae-yoon's wedding is scheduled for the May Day holiday. The living room light door was open, it was raining outside, and the spring rain rushed into the house with the breeze, and it felt that the face was not cold. Soo-yoon wrote the guest list on a piece of red paper. I don't think there are many people. She is also an older brother in Haikan. Wen Xiao, Aunt Xiaojun will definitely come back, right? Well, I told her that she is very happy for me and will come back when the time comes. Wen Xiao took a bite of the apple. Are Soo-yoon and his family invited too? Soo-yoon glanced at her. Didn't your brother invite us when he got married? Reciprocity. God, chi twice.